Welcome to the Cartoon Pad, folks. And we've got everyone here. Everyone's in the house. We've got Marty, the producer, but even more importantly, we got co-host Michael Shaw.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Marty.
Hi, Shaw.
I think that's it.
You know what? I have a little bit of a quiz I was going to share.
Ooh.
I've been trying to learn about podcasts. So I'm going to ask you both these questions.
Okay.
Yeah, let me just hit you with a couple of quick questions. How many podcasts are there today, approximately?
At this moment?
I think it's a lot. I think it's like 15.
No, there's only one, and this is it.
You could do the Price is Right thing, Michael, and just go like 16. Just go like one more than Marty.
1 million.
Yeah, you're closer. It's 800,000.
That's a
That's
lot.
how many podcasts there are.
And
And
amazingly, Bob listens to all of them.
I don't have the
Find
time
the
for
time.
all of them, but I try to listen to most of them. How many you think are about cartooning,
Including this one?
including this one? I
Five?
found
10?
I
No,
found
I'll
four.
go 130.
I found four.
4?
Yeah. What percentage of listeners speed up the podcast when they're listening?
I don't
I
know.
remember they're going to work, they're commuting, some of them are riding their bike
Oh, I hate that.
in the shower, maybe. Maybe
How do you
Dave?
ride a bike in the shower? Sounds dangerous.
Let's hear-
There's a new Peloton for that.
Ooh.
what percent?
I'd rather be in front than behind. No, I'd rather be behind than in front of that Peloton. Thank you. I
Nine-
forgot the question.
Yeah, 19% of the listeners speed up their podcasts. That's how many people speed up the podcast.
Does that mean we should be talking slower?
Yeah,
To
we
make up
talked
for
about
it?
this. Yeah, we could do
Yep.
that.
Yep.
All right. Now, here's a good question. Last one. I
Okay.
promise. What percentage of listeners don't finish the podcast?
Oh, all of them.
Yeah, like
no,
90.
no, not this one. In podcasts in general,
80%.
70.
50%.
Oh, that's pretty good.
50%.
Yeah.
That's better than I thought.
Yeah. This is just a survey I took with my family. I mean, these
Okay.
numbers could be fluctuate.
Oh, Lord.
Not
Okay,
really
well,
a
how big was your-
scientific.
yeah.
No,
how
it's
big
not
was your-
scientific, but I'm
How
gonna
big was your
get more.
sample size?
No, actually, this was really done by some kind of company that was doing podcast research for advertisers, and so it's good to know. So my feeling is if half don't finish, maybe we could just at halfway point call it a day.
It depends on which half. Maybe we should do the second half first.
When I
Oh.
was doing radio, I worked in morning radio, and what we did, because a radio show is 6 to 10 a.m., right? So that's like 4 hours.
Right.
And you assume that no one listening to your radio show, regular radios, it was a hit music station. No one's listening from 6 to 10 a.m., right? They're listening during their commute. So it's a pocket of time that's maybe 10, 20, 30 minutes tops.
Right.
So what we would do is we would basically repeat the show. We would do a 6 to 8 show, and then we would do almost the exact same bits, kind of, from the 8 to 10.
Marty, were you a morning flake or the zoo crew?
I was a zoo. It was
Super.
it was
That's
a
good.
morning zoo. It was on a hit music station in Syracuse, New York. And we did Impossible Question. We did Joke of the Day. We did all this stuff. And we would we would do those things once a show. Well, we did the Joke of the Day twice. We did the Joke of the Day at 6:30 and 8:30. And then we did the Impossible Question at 7:12. And that didn't repeat because people had to. And this was tough, though, because this is before everything was online. There was the internet, but people weren't so fast with it. Nowadays, people can just Google something. So it's like an impossible question isn't so impossible.
Marty, were you top hits or the greatest hits of the 80s, 90s, and today? Or
It was
classic rock?
hit music. So it was, at the time we're talking like 99, 2000, 2001. So it was
Ooh.
like Britney Spears. Everyone that's famous again right now
Yes.
is pop music from when I was working at a radio station. So it was NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Barbie Girl, Aqua, 98 Degrees. I mean, this was on high rotation. So we would play songs over and over and over again within.
Oops.
Are you trying to take credit for their comebacks?
I don't want to start that rumor, but I wouldn't deny that rumor. Hey, free Britney.
Our next guest is one of the brightest news stars in gag cartooning and has appeared in many publications, including Mad Magazine, The Washington Post, The Paris Review, The New York Times, and The New Yorker. He was nominated this year for Gag Cartoonist of the Year by the National Cartoonist Society, and he has a new book coming out with John Adams called Send Help, a collection of desert island cartoons. Please welcome to the show, Ellis Rosen.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. Applause.
And there's also Ellis Island. So
There is.
yeah, there's a cosmic tie in there.
Yeah. I grew up pretty close to it. Well, at least you can see it from my window, or used to be able to. It's a big apartment in the way now.
When did you start doing gag cartoons?
2015
Wow.
is when I started. I didn't really start submitting until 2016 though. And the first thing I did was buy that big red book, which is now almost, I guess 15 years old now, but at least it only goes
That's a
up to
big red
2000.
one. The big red one's fairly new. The every goddamn cartoon ever, New Yorker cartoon.
Yeah.
That's the old one.
Yeah. It only goes
Oh,
up
you
to
still got the
2006.
cover.
Yeah.
If you go to the back, I have a couple in the very back when it was hot in the turn of the century, 2000, not 1900.
Ellis, this is a podcast. You're
No,
showing
it's
stuff.
fun. But it's interesting because I'm the only one in that book that had their signature snipped.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the cartoons there, and I think I have 2 or 3 in there, but my signature is gone because they snipped it.
Oh,
They
just
didn't
took it out?
snip it. No,
I
they
got
didn't
snipped,
snip it.
man.
I whited it out. Every copy I could get
Oh,
my hands
Lord.
on. I went around. I used about 26 bottles when you started, and you said you bought this red book.
Yeah.
Who was the cartoonist who was making the biggest impact on you early on? Who you would say is one of your greatest influencers?
Well, it was sort of like a journey. I went in on there thinking Gayon Wilson was he's just the best. I love his style. And I tried drawing like him, and I quickly realized that was a very bad idea. Just trying to draw like him with someone, my ability was just not gonna happen. So then I went through the book, and I picked it. I made up a cartoon, and I drew it about 10 different times with sort of influenced by 10 different artists that I sort of picked out.
That's fascinating.
No,
I've never heard of doing that.
Well, it was just before I was even submitting. It was just trying to figure out what this was all about. And the person I really was attracted to was Chan Day.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because at the time I'd just done this children's book, and please never look at it, because my drawings, I can't stand them now, but they're so heavily textured. Actually, I'm kidding. Please go out and buy the book. But they're so textured and so overdrawn, really to make up for the fact that I just couldn't draw. I just felt like if I could draw more on a picture, it would get better. So something about Chan Day's the opposite approach. He was just so simple, so clear, so direct. I was I want to do this. I want the joke to be the primary focus, and I want everything just to be Chan Day is a far better illustrator than I am, and more beautiful illustrator, but to me it wasn't about making beautiful illustrations. It was about making clear, direct, and simple jokes that you get right away. So my first batch was a little bit closer to his. I only had one tone for a while, and I gradually brought in more tones as I developed my own sort of style. But so Chan Day, I think, was the biggest influence in the very beginning, for sure.
What's your favorite cartoon of his? Bob Mankoff told me his.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, the gun one is the shoe
Yeah.
shop is really brilliant. I think that's how I first actually knew him, not even from the book. I think from that essay that Mankoff wrote about that cartoon.
You think you could?
Um,
You think you really want to go in that direction, Ellis? Women being threatened in shoe stores
I've noticed
Yeah.
that.
with guns.
I've noticed that.
Really?
I've noticed that cartoon is no longer in Mr. Mankoff's PowerPoint. It's
yeah, I mean, it certainly is not aged well at all.
it's
But
still funny, but
the
there's a
the black placement, the how it leads the eye, still stands. But there are plenty of Chan Day ones. I mean, again, actually, he is an older artist, so it's actually kind of hard to find.
no, he was amazing. And my favorite was, which is sort of in the same vein, the inmate who's talking to the warden and he's saying, "Hey, what about dames?" See, it's a classic.
Yeah, and I don't think any of them have aged well.
Bob is chortling.
No, my favorite is he's in a shoe store and he's giving flowers to the woman, not a gun.
Ah,
Oh, there you go.
That's funny, but it's more woke. Ellis, you know, when I grew up, I loved Gayam Wilson. That was
Yeah.
my guy too. Did you get a chance to meet Mr. Wilson?
No, I did not, unfortunately. But I heard he was a very nice man.
Yeah, he was really a character, very gentle and very nice. He had gone to the lunches at the New Yorker. His last years he was going was like 2009 and 2010. And that's how I met him. And then
Mhm.
and then the lunches themselves kind of ended. You know, we had less lunches, and then the whole sort of culture there kind of shifted and changed so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned about illustrating a children's book. Would that have been your brother's book?
Yes.
I know. Okay, so you have a book coming out, but you've been working in books, and you've been working with your brother. How's that been going?
Well, my brother is a novelist, and he's worked in all sorts of age groups. And he was a writer, I was an artist. So to make our mother happy, we did a book together. And
how'd that go?
it went well. I mean, I sort of taught myself how to draw digitally from it, and left. And he certainly had his opinions about stuff, but he wasn't really bossy or anything like that. That's my
Wow.
brother.
Who's older?
Yes, older brother.
Oh, older
Um,
brother.
Yeah.
How
yeah.
far apart?
He's 5 years older than me.
And he's done really well. I mean, he's really
Yeah.
accomplished. Do you feel like you'll have the urge to write your own books?
I would like to write humor. I've done some of those daily shouts, some written shouts, and those are really fun. I want to do more of those. And yeah, if I can figure out a way to get myself to write longer, I would. But I'm not good at long in general. Like comic books, graphic novels. It's not something that comes naturally to me. That's why a reason I love cartoons.
Yeah, that's
I
the
thought-
thing.
I'm
Sorry, Bob. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I thought Ellis's writing is very good in his newsletter.
Oh, thank you.
Let's go back to the newsletter after Michael. Please, you
Interrupts.
first. Yeah. No,
No,
Michael,
I think the
first.
more you cartoon, you acquire the attention span of a Cocker Spaniel,
Yeah.
and you just when you see 3 sentences, you go like, "God, it's a novel."
Yeah, right. What
Yeah.
is this? Ulysses,
Exactly.
come on.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
Ellis, going back to your newsletter, you have a newsletter called Toon Stack, is it?
With
And
8 other yeah.
and I read it, and it's the writing on it's good, and so
Oh, thank you.
so there you are. You're expanding there.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are just short little things, little jokes, depending on what the topic is. We switch editors every week. And so the editor will write an introduction and choose the topic and bring in some guest cartoonists. And that's just and then everyone else just sort of picks a cartoon and writes about it.
I get that. Hey, Bob, we got to get on that.
Yeah, absolutely. You
Come
two
on,
are
Bob.
more than
He's-
welcome.
he-
I got
he
you the
promises.
Rubens.
He
I landed you a
promises.
Rubens. I mean, geez.
It was delicious.
I will make sure you're on the list.
The list. I've heard this before. But thank
Yeah.
you, Ellis.
Yeah.
I've been
So
on plenty
anyways-
of lists.
It's great having you on, Ellis. Good night. Drive safely.
Good night, everybody.
I'll guarantee you will be on it in the future for sure.
Now, Ellis, was the newsletter more for getting your rejected pieces out there, or did you want to sort of like have more control of how it was going to be used? Like, what was sort of like your motive with? Is it just expanding your brand?
I think we have so many rejects. We have so much other work that I'd like to just do as much as I can with it. And TuneStack, eventually we hope to start monetizing it one way or another, and maybe make some income from it. We're trying to just build an audience at the moment, but
Famous last words.
yeah. I mean, it's
wait.
the New Yorker
A
being
what?
the only game in town. You need other outlets to do something.
I have to say, I looked at TuneStacks today and quite enjoyed it. And it's,
Or did you?
I have there's this one, it's just a Hillary.
Yeah, Campbell.
Yes. And it's this femme fatale saying,
Yeah.
I've had many men in this town, darling, but not many man have not had me, but many man have not had me. I have to work on that. Anyway,
I want to hear you say that 5 more times.
Yeah, take it.
I wanna do this
Do
again.
another take and do it slower.
I've had many men in this town, darling, comma, but many man have not had me. I think there's something.
I think we might need to. This might be more of a visual gag.
No, it's
Now, Ellis, you also have Junk Drawer at Go Comics, another place you can see Ellis's work. What exactly is the address for that for people to find you?
Let's find
Is it just Junk Drawer? You can look it up and Go Comics.
Yeah, if you just type
it's
in
on his
Junk
website.
Ellis Rosen, you'll probably find it.
Yeah.
I love that story about your brother's gift to you.
Oh
of a
yeah,
Junk
yeah.
Drawer. If you could maybe share that.
Yeah. So I'm very pro junk drawers. It dates back long ago when I was a kid hanging out. My mom had, went to see a friend and brought me along. And it was just those two adults and me. And so this actually started both my love of junk drawers and my love of going through people's stuff, because I just sort of wandered his house and started going through his stuff. And I pulled out this drawer. And in this drawer was a whole bunch of, junk. And there were 2 Batman action figures. And that just, bam, made my afternoon. I just had something to do all of a sudden. And this magic drawer took me from boredom to fun in an instant. And so I've always liked junk drawer. I have a junk drawer in this house after some convincing. My wife is anti-junk drawer.
Wow, every drawer is a junk drawer in my house.
I was gonna say that. I've got more than one. I've got more than one in each room. Anytime that there's drawers, like 20% of the drawers in the room are junk drawers.
They just happen. You can't really
They
stop.
happen.
I have a junk house.
You do have a junk house.
Yeah, Ellis. No, I was referring to your brother giving you a gift once.
Right. So my wife and I, when we first moved into this house apartment, we had this conversation: junk drawer, no junk drawer. She was anti-junk drawer, and my brother, as a cheeky little gift, got his husband works at a library, and they got one of those old Dewey Decimal System drawers.
Sure.
And he put all this stuff, all this junk in it, and he wrapped it up and he gave it to me.
That's great.
Did it have the metal rod down the middle that you could remove?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to work on any more books together, you think? And then we'll talk about your new book, but I'm curious to know if you're going to try to do a little illustration on the side too.
Yeah, I don't know. That's it. I mean, right now he's really working YA, non-illustrated sort of stuff. If he ever wants to do children's book again, I would of course happy to work with him.
You could do his covers. You could do the covers too.
Yeah, I mean that would take more convincing than just him. He'd have to go through a million other people.
But your work is very well executed. I feel like you could, if you wanted to, do different styles although I don't see much of your color work, but your line work is very well thought out. I love your compositions. I think you're a real craftsman. So I'm sure you could do covers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ellis, but excuse me, but as cartoon director emeritus of the Weekly Humorist, you were talking earlier about things that are missing.
Okay.
And I was impressed. In fact, there's another trend because we were talking about the lack of body parts by some cartoonists.
Yeah.
But in your cartoon, the current one in the New Yorker, and the cartoon in Cartoon Stack by Hillary, I've noticed something is making a big comeback that's going to make Marty very happy and excited.
Oh, yeah, we see penises in your cartoon.
You see
Michael
penises?
has
What?
Michael has
You see
found
them everywhere,
penises.
Bob.
Marty, stop it.
going
Don't be
on?
so bashful.
Where are the said penis? Someone told me my signature looks like a penis.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
now that you're
it-
saying it, it does look like a penis.
It looks
Now
like
I
a
can't-
nib. It looks like a
That-
nib.
You just
No,
ruined
no,
any
wait,
cartoon I see
I
of
was
Ellis's
just
now.
gonna I'm making a profound point here, and
Uh,
I'm
Bob
sorry.
just put it in the junk drawer.
Okay, I'm sorry.
What do you see?
The
Rewind.
return of the fedora.
Oh, yeah.
The fedora is back. There was
Yeah.
a time where Professor Mankoff said no fedoras. Absolutely. No fedora. Oh yeah, you could
Why not?
never submit a fedora cartoon, even if you were making fun of fedoras,
Why?
because
What's wrong?
I think he had an issue.
No,
he felt
because
it was too
it
stodgy.
dated. No, it dated the cartoon the same way. There was other things you couldn't put in. For instance, is Eskimos, because it was derogatory to stereotype that
Right.
culture.
Yeah.
There was a few. There was a few things on that list of things not to have in the cartoon.
That I mean, Eskimos I get, but fedora. I mean, you have to put. He's a noir detective. You know?
Well, exactly. And here's the cartoon. It's a Sam Spade like character,
Right.
and the gag is this woman is here talking to him, and she's still got her coat on and holding her purse, which is classic. And she's saying, "It's my husband. He's on jury duty and he's not allowed to talk about the case. But here's the thing: I really want to know." So this could have been a cartoon for 1947. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a true throwback cartoon.
It's interesting if you look in the big red book of New York cartoons, which I have my copy, just like I have my copy laying around too. But almost every cartoon in the decades of like the 60s and 70s, like every average man is wearing a fedora. Just
Oh,
because.
yeah.
It's
Or
just
a
like
Humber.
People used to wear hats, right? They
it's
used to
just
walk
like
around.
wearing pants, you know, like if you're a
Yeah.
if it was a symbol for regular man wearing
Yes.
a fedora, and if you're not wearing a regular fedora, you are someone else. Like you're in a uniform of some sort. You are an attendant. You are a gas station worker. You are a cop. You are a doctor. Like it's like if you weren't something professional, you were just an average Joe. You had to wear a fedora, according to the book.
Right.
It's fun to watch. Actually, it's really interesting going through this. That all the different decades. It's like a history lesson of like
Yes.
what was the modern thing happening, and you see
Sure.
it in
Right.
cartoons. It's a fun thing to go back and look at. Like it's like a
Yeah.
history book, but it's like a drawn history book, but it's decoded through people's cartoons.
It's
Yeah,
fun to
right.
watch.
Fascinating.
It's fun to watch the television slowly emerge as a gag item.
At least
Yeah.
from a specific point of view, anyway. But yeah.
We should
Listen.
mention to listeners that Ellis is wearing a fedora now on this interview, and Michael Shore is wearing two at the same time.
That's right. And I'm smoking. I'm chain smoking Lucky Strikes. So
It looks really smart.
thanks.
My favorite cartoon
Good
of
luck.
Ellis's is the Play-Doh work dough.
So that's a good one too.
I think is like such a my favorite cartoons, as I've mentioned before, are cartoons that don't have captions and they can tell a joke without being, a captioned cartoon. And
Mhm.
that kind of I love this because it is perfect.
Well,
It
it
is
doesn't count
perfect.
because it does
spot color.
rely on words.
It relies on words, but it relies on a sign, which is okay.
Okay.
You're almost there. Okay, you're right. It's not a perfect
That's
cartoon.
that's
Alice.
tough to usually have a sign somewhere to sell that idea. If you're not-
Work dough, and I just love that it's just like gray, and I love that the Play-Doh is the spot color.
That was I like that one because it was I don't know, you guys, you do so many of these cartoons, it starts to invade your subconscious, and that was one of those, like, there's a dream. I dreamed that cartoon up, and I woke up with that idea.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you write down ideas? Do you have like a little notebook where you do quickie little doodles and then you make the more finishes?
Yeah, I first I put in my notes on my phone, and if any of them, usually I just put concepts, like just whatever. Right now I have a cold, and the whole family has a cold, and I've been complaining about it a lot more than anyone else. And so my wife calls it a man cold, because men are baby ones when it comes to cold. So I wrote down man cold. So like that's like a concept, it's not a joke yet, but or like I don't know.
No, it isn't.
Yeah. Or like, something reminded me how, like, when you're at sea, you're near land because birds are nearby, that whole thing. So like, just like all these things that occur to me, I just write them down, and then I don't know, work with them one way or another, and they make it to the sketchbook.
I feel like for the man cold, I feel like I'm the same way. I get sick and I get very overly dramatic. Maybe the dad, maybe everyone else is kind of sick and they're on the couch and they're kind of like, covers and they're blowing their nose or whatever. And the dad is like holding up a skull like Shakespeare, and they're like, God, he's so dramatic.
Yeah. There we go. I mean,
done. You're welcome. Print it. That's going to be in the New Yorker calendar.
Oh.
Yeah, I like the what, I can't think of the Shakespeare play, Hamlet trope of the guy holding the skull. That's a fun one to work with.
I've done a
speaking
ton
of
of
tropes,
those and never sold one. What's your best Hamlet trope?
If you count Shakespeare in the Way, that's the only one I've sold.
Well, you're one on me.
Yeah.
Actually, I sold one, but it's not been published yet. So does that count?
Oh yeah. Sure. I don't know.
You know how when curling the guy bends down to move the rock, that thing that goes sliding on the ice?
Sure.
I have Shakespeare pushing the skull instead. Good. And that's my highbrow interpretation of this.
I like that.
Marty rejected that about, I don't know, 4 or 5 times from the Weekly Humorist, but maybe I could send that to the New Yorker.
Sure.
Maybe someplace that would appreciate it.
No, mine was never write a sonnet when you're hungry, and it's Shakespeare just sitting there and he's saying, how shall I compare thee to a bone-in ham? Thou art tastier and more versatile at parties.
Yeah.
That's why Michael Shore gets the big bucks.
That's why I get the hams.
Jason Katzenstein has a great one where it's like a skull talking to another skull going, so I was with my friend Hamlet. Maybe you've heard of him, Hamlet. Anyway, I'm with Hamlet, man.
Good old Hamlet.
Ellis, what do you think makes a great cartoon? Do you have like a criteria in your head where you're sitting down, you're saying, this is what I got to do first? I got to think about this, or does the visual have to be the strength, or?
It depends. I mean, there's so many ways to execute a cartoon. It's just sort of the direction you sort of choose. So in some cases, the visual, is like the most important part. In some ways, whatever, it doesn't matter as much. And you're relying more on the words. It really just depends. I know that's sort of a weak answer, but
no. I mean, I'm trying to. First of all, I'm blindsiding you a little bit here. It was a complex question. Everyone has a different take on what does make a great cartoon, but in your case, I don't think you try to be too jokey. You do seem to put an emphasis on trying to do a juxtaposition in your visuals. That's something unpredictable, and then trying to base the caption on something that's already exciting in front of the viewer.
Well, I'm a writer first, for sure. I mean, if you like put people in those categories, and I don't think, very rarely do I draw something and then try to come up with the caption afterwards. Usually I'm like trying to build my captions off of like, like for instance, this one, but here's the thing, I really want to know. That's like a conversationally kind of tone. I don't know if you count a trope for captions, but like the way people speak, or the way we use these, our verbiage or whatever. I try to make something sound like that, try to sound natural, but also at the same time writerly, if that makes any sense at all.
Oh, sure it does. I mean, I find, and Michael, I want to ask you about this. I get some. I want to ask you if you overhear things. Is that how you get a lot of ideas? Is
my first
Yeah.
first cartoon I ever published at the New Yorker, I stole from someone standing in line waiting for coffee, and I overheard them
Oh, that's
talking.
awesome.
Yeah, and it was they ought to really do a chicken soup book for the criminally insane. That's a cartoon, and I went and drew it, and whoa, ka-ching, and no.
Wow.
And I will steal idea. I mean, I like going around and listening to people and taking what they say,
sure,
and using it for my own nefarious purposes.
This is getting way off subject, but really quick. That guy has made an empire out of the chicken soup series.
Oh, I know.
And I was in a meeting with him, one of his editors right before this Zoom started. I am in meetings with them to work with them. And then we're doing another meeting tomorrow because they're just doing more and more books. And now they want to illustrate them. And they're branching out. And their big thing is trying to get everyone to be able to do books and to create their own books through hybrid publishing and stuff. So just a coincidence I had to bring up because it's pretty. I'll be speaking to that guy tomorrow.
Cool.
Tell him he needs to add elements of stress to his franchise, because chicken soup.
He has like 50 different titles based on
I
that
know.
spinoff of
Some
chicken
of them are
soup
a little
or
weird,
whatever.
like
Really?
Oh yeah, it's like chicken soup for plumbers, chicken soup for
chicken soup for the bonsai hobbyist.
Wow.
It's like this chicken soup for like outhouse managerial executives or something, like for people who manage outhouses. It's like just a niche. They just came
once
up with
you find
a
your
book.
thing, just keep at it.
Exploit it.
What would a chicken soup for the cartoonist soul be like?
I think I hit it with criminally insane, but
yeah, probably. I think you covered it
already. Ellis, your new book coming out.
Yes.
How did you meet John Adams, who you're doing the book with? How did you guys run into it initially?
Let me just say the title and everything here. Just so it's called Send Help, a collection of marooned cartoons edited by John Adams and Ellis Rosen. And it's going to come out November 9th this year, 2021, by Voracious. So everyone pre-order it now.
And share a little bit about the book.
Yeah, it's a collection of desert island cartoons, the trope. It was John's brainchild. He called me up. He said, I've got hundreds of these desert island cartoons, and I want to do a book. What do you think if we got a bunch of cartoonists to do it? And, it's sort of at the time it resonated because we were all, I guess we still are, feeling very isolated. And it's also a timeless trope, an old trope, a trope that lives on even to this very issue. There's one by Katzenstein in this issue, the current issue in the New Yorker. And so we, as you know, solicited a ton of cartoonists and got a lot of submissions and picked out the ones we thought worked best. And there's extra content. We did quite a lot of sort of sardonic desert island games to play when you're stranded on a desert island.
Give us
an activity section. Well, John made this fantastic board game, which is great, like a 2-page spread, which is very funny. I did a sort of a word search, but you quickly come to realize that's not really a word search, but just a message somebody trying to get out saying, please help, I'm trapped on this island.
So did anyone do a cartoon where instead of saying SOS, it said LOL?
Maybe. That sort of sounds familiar. We have
this classic.
Yeah. We definitely had a lot of, SOS type of things, and send help sort of plays. The one we got the most and did not take any of was Desert Island. But
How about the Island of Lost Sunglasses?
no, is that one of yours?
Everyone's got a million of those. I mean,
Really?
I don't know if you rejected this cartoon of mine. I don't know if I sent it to you or not, but it's appearing in my new book. It was a desert island with the stone saying "free kittens."
No, I don't remember that. That's fine.
Now, maybe I didn't send it to you, but it's in yeah. So how did it feel being editor? Yeah, finally you got on the other side of the desk.
Right. Yeah. It was tough. It was fun at some points. It was harder at other points. John and I think we really worked well together. We have different tastes, but we played on each other well. And it was sometimes fun getting into those kinds of arguments. Why I really want this one. Why I really want this one. Don't want that one. And it was a long process, but enjoyable. I mean, I don't find desert island cartoons funny anymore, unfortunately.
Really? Okay, how about this one? I got one.
So listen up. Michael's got a good one.
Okay, it's I call this troping the like fantastic because it combines a couple. It's a he said, she said on a desert island.
Yeah.
So the guy's sitting there, he's holding a bowl, and the woman's kind of looking at him, and he's complaining. He goes, "Shark fin soup again," and then there's all these shark fins circling the island.
I have one in the book.
There was a chortle. I sensed a chortle.
Michael, was that published anywhere?
Hell no.
Oh, come on. That's great.
Bob, you were supposed to get it somewhere. Come on.
I'm gonna buy that cartoon for you.
All right, I'll give it to you.
Put it in the Bob.
Anyway.
Well, you didn't send it to us, Michael. Did you send it?
I got your email, and I said I really should have done that.
Yeah, why
I'm
not?
the most low motivated cartoonist on earth.
Wear it with honor. Own it, Michael.
But wait, Ellis had another cartoon he was going to tell us.
Well, I have one that had a similar caption. It was an island, and next door is an island with a pizza place, and the person has gotten pizza, and the other person saying "pizza again." So it was,
I like shark fin though.
Shark fin is sort of a delicacy. Yeah. How about this one? So there's this man, another man and woman. And the guy's wearing a tuxedo, and you see like a column of black smoke off in the distance. And the guy says, "Well, you wanted a destination honeymoon."
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
We're tossing gold your way.
Oh, I remember that one.
Well, you didn't send me any. It's too late now.
I know. That's because I didn't get around to it.
Well, it's not too late. It's not too late at all. Michael's going to send you tomorrow.
You can do an insert into all the books, Ellis.
Yeah.
You could do a one-off print.
It's an amendment.
Well, I've always wanted to say stop the presses, so maybe I can run in the offices and yell that.
Bob and I are going to do a book, and we're going to call it "Is This Trope Really Necessary?" So
are you like
the head scratching?
Which tropes you're going to?
Yes.
Which one?
So how does something rise to tropeness?
Yeah.
How many times do you repeat? Like, once, twice.
That's really interesting. I mean, what is like the newest trope right now? I wonder.
Yeah.
No, that's also could be reworded as what type of cartoon you're most sick of now.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
everybody has like their own thing that they're like tired of. Yeah.
I mean, you do a lot of game show.
Yeah.
Cartoons.
Yeah.
That's a trope.
Yeah, for sure.
We know it's a trope, Bob. I'm just
all right.
I love game show cartoons because it's like you're putting real life on like center stage. You're like the worst fear of like everybody staring at you. And
there's a lot of drawing involved though.
There is. I don't love drawing it. It's true.
I gotta say though, it is an easy, like 11th hour coming up with filler. You do a game show. I mean, it is easy to come up with lines for a game show. And that's what I've done. Yeah. I've sold a game show or two. And it was always the last one in the batch.
Oh, yeah.
It was always like, mine was, and this is why you're still single.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I remember that one. Yeah. Well, I love it too, because you read it in the game show voice. So it's like, and this is why you're still single. You know?
It always
What's-
reminds me of like the Saturday Night Live skit in a can in case they need to fill in some time.
Yeah, some of the
So-
best Saturday Night Live skits are game show ones. Yeah.
You can
Well, the
always tell that.
Jeopardy, the Jeopardies are really
The
good.
Jeopardies. There's an old one where it's guess that dog's name. It's just
Oh
people
yeah, that's good.
seriously
Yeah.
guessing dogs' names and getting it wrong.
You know, Ellis, you're bringing up a point that I have a problem with is you have ideas and then you think to yourself, oh, this has been done already.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a similar premise. It might not be the same thing, but it's now you know why you were inspired. How do you get around that? Do you diligently fact check what you've done
Yeah.
for your batches, or
If it feels familiar, I definitely look it up because you know, I don't really want to waste too much time trying to draw something that's been done. But you know, sometimes it sort of falls into a gray zone. Is it too similar? Is it not similar enough? You know, you sort of have to do that math in your head if you feel like you're. But yeah, I generally check to see if it's been done, if it feels familiar. You know, I don't often do it, but and then sometimes you're just lucky. I did one. There was a daily. It was like the Oscar award on this therapist couch, and
oh yeah,
he's saying like, in my dream, I'm in a big auditorium surrounded by people, and that's when I realized I'm naked. And like when I did that, I was like, this has got to have been done. So I just did a whole search as much as I could on any platform I could find and found nothing. And, you know, New Yorker has their own fact checker. So you let them.
Yeah, I
be
never
on
worry
it.
about it. I figure they'll kill it if it's like you
Right.
say, you don't want to spend a bunch of time drawing something. Oh, I just found it. Here it is. In my dream, I'm in a large auditorium surrounded by people. They're all looking at me. And that's when I realize I'm completely naked. See, and it's the Oscar itself.
Right. Yeah.
yeah, but that's a trope, of course. The shrink.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you
Shrink
have
is
the
like-
shrink, yeah, and but you tackled the biggest trope. Really, is the desert island. That is the
Yeah.
biggest trope.
yeah.
What's your next
And
trope?
John has sold like 100 of those. I've sold one that has not ran yet. But I just when I sold that, I felt fulfilled. Like I'm part of this New Yorker history now, you know?
You know what a
Something
trope
powerful
that
about it.
got outdated? Like there's outdated tropes that used to be
For
tropes
sure.
you don't see anymore. You see them
Yeah.
every now and then. Like Ali Solomon does one every now and then, and it's like two prisoners shackled and they're
Yeah,
just kind
they
of
don't really
talking
do
to
that
each
one
other.
anymore.
And that used to be everywhere. Like you always see
Yeah.
like two people chained up against a wall, and it's like one says a funny thing to the other one, or one's about to get executed by firing range, and it's like your last words.
Marty, I've got one in the big red book if you look. It's in the back.
Yeah, Michael,
Of,
describe it to
Yeah,
us.
yours is TGIF. I know that.
Yes,
one.
TGIF.
Yeah, yeah. That's good.
Who's the new guy?
Here's the new guy.
Is
The
that's
one
a-
I always
yeah,
liked
that's an easy
was
one.
this guy's about to get shot and he's got the blindfold on. He goes, "There's no shooting. We just make you keep smoking."
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's
funny.
great-
I
that's
sold one
right.
that's
That
actually
was
kinda
in your
similar to
book.
That was in the book.
That was in the book.
That
That's
was
a
in the
great
book.
one.
That's in Send Help.
There's no
Coming up.
guns. We just make you keep smoking.
Yeah,
That's a
Michael's
great
is the
joke.
only cartoons in the Send Help book that is not Desert Island. They're just random thoughts from
Yeah,
Michael,
yeah.
and that's good
It's-
for him.
It's send
Yeah,
help
we
for
make a note of
me.
that. We say
But-
all Desert Island cartoons except for Michael Shaw. We
That's
just,
right.
he won't think.
Ellis, what was the best cartoon in the new upcoming book that you and John agree was the best? Was there one cartoon that's the crown jewel?
I had one that I thought was so freaking funny. I think John liked it for sure, but I think that was like my star favorite. It was Lonnie Millsap, and it was like a car had crashed into the tree, and the two people are like out of the car, and the guy's saying it came out of nowhere. I just thought that was
That
so
is
fun.
dry. That is flinty.
Yeah, I
Hey,
really like
Ronnie Millsap.
Lonnie Millsap.
Hey, I got one more. How about this?
Yeah.
So it's like this vast kind of a desert kind of tundra. And the one guy says, unfortunately, you're stranded on Australia. 'Cause Australia is an island.
Oh yeah,
God.
that's true. Yeah, yeah.
See, it's gently ironic.
Very gentle.
Very. Very.
I'm glad we
nice.
got to pitch all these. Thank you
Yeah.
for
No.
allowing us
Michael's
to get
got 20 more to share with you. Hang on.
Where, yeah. I'm trying to think if there are like other really ones that, John and I definitely had some that we like both agreed on right away.
You didn't pick out my favorite. You picked one of my, I wouldn't consider it my strongest. So it
Which
just
one?
goes to show, well, you picked out one of mine where the guy is hailing a cab in the desert islands between buildings. But it just goes to show that cartooning is so subjective.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and one good thing is that, like not everybody is going to like every single cartoon in this book. I hope that most people like most cartoons in the book, but and every cartoon will be liked by at least one person. So there's something like reassuring knowing that it's so subjective that, every cartoon there is deserving because someone's going to like it besides us.
Yeah, I find book cartoons a lot of cartoons in one setting too. It's like the all-you-can-eat cartoon buffet. I'd rather suffer through a long torture essay about soybeans to get to the cartoon because then it's funnier.
Right.
It's your little reward for actually reading.
Yeah, right. You mean the magazine?
Yeah. So when you're looking at like 125 cartoons in a row, you're like, it's like it's too much humor. I'm too amused.
Well, hopefully they're different enough. All that we tried to split them up.
I'm sure they're fine. It's just the act of actually sitting down and thumbing through a lot of cartoons at once. That
well, you talk about early influences. I mean, I was one of those kids who would just buy the Gary Larson tear through calendar and just read every single one on the first night. That was like before I realized they actually just make books. That was like my favorite thing to do. So I love cartoon books. And if when I'm feeling uninspired, I just open up Arise, Chaz, or whatever, and just go through all these cartoons, and you just feel like doing it again.
Have you always wanted to be a cartoonist? This is like a question you're supposed to open the podcast with. Like this is one-on-one podcasting. So have you always wanted to be a cartoonist? Have you?
I always wanted to draw. It's the only thing I've ever shown any sort of interest and skill, ability in. I was not a good student, and I would doodle a lot. And some teachers were okay with that, and some teachers were not. At one point, I thought I wanted to do comic books. And at that point, I thought comic books were only superheroes. So I tried to draw superheroes. I'm terrible in anatomy to this day. I got over that. When my field opened up, when I realized more types of drawings I could do, then I thought, well, maybe I'll do a different kind of comics. And I went to school in Savannah for comics, and I still felt kind of out of place. And I didn't really know what I was doing or what I wanted to do until I went to the New Yorker offices. And like, suddenly I realized all these people who were just the same kind of neurotic, the same kind of weird. They were doing something that I really wanted to do.
Speak for yourself, Ellis. Jeez.
So wait, I have to ask
Really?
Ellis, which body part do you least enjoy drawing?
Oh, it's weird. I feel like some days I can like really nail a hand, and then some days I just cannot get it for the life of me.
I've noticed a lot of hands in pockets.
Yeah, I'll do that sometimes for
It
sure.
gives them kind of a downtrodden look too.
Yeah.
And you and Bob have something in common in that you sign with your
High
first
IQ.
name.
High IQ.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like my
And
first
hand issues. But Bob's hands are very small.
Lars does too, so we're in good company.
Yes. The first name cartoonist.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, I
Cher,
noticed that.
Madonna,
Sure.
Ellis.
But your signature has a very
Lars.
mid-modern, it has a very mid-modern contemporary look to it. Like you could see it on the
Does it?
side of an avocado refrigerator.
I made up that signature when I was a kid and just always kept it.
Oh, wow.
No regrets?
No, I mean, until someone told me that was phallic. I mean, but no, I like it. I'm sticking with it.
Well, we'll see if you sleep well tonight after you think about that. Ellis, we want to thank you for being on the show, but do you have any stories that you have in the holster that you haven't shared? Come on, give us the good stuff.
A good story?
Yeah, a gossip, a dirty dish. Come on. Um, how
I
are
don't-
things?
What?
How are things going? Just we'll start with that.
I mean, fine. I mean, everybody in this household is sick. I've got a 2-year-old who's sick. So right now it's pretty stressful.
Okay.
But we'll get by. It's not the bad one. It's not COVID, so we'll survive. I don't know how things are going. It sucks not being able to go in anymore. I really enjoyed going in and seeing the cartoonists and sort of like getting some of that face-to-face time. But I still cartoon. I still send in every week. Not many though. I'm like at 5. What do you guys send in?
Yeah, that batch of 10 thing is, I'm glad it's gone, because
Yeah, it's a tough.
there are a lot of dead soldiers in that group.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I wasn't particularly. Yeah, exactly.
But
I mean, there still is.
I always send in like 6 or 7 or 8, but I was just listening to a podcast with PC They,
Yeah,
and as he told me on the side in our conversations, he always turns in over 20.
yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that of him. And Lars is sort of the same way too. There's some people are just machines.
You'd have to be a machine. I mean, I have a day job. I don't know how I could get 20 finishes in. I mean, his stuff is probably pretty well finished too. But he has a very rich vein that he mines. He doesn't veer a whole lot.
Well, I mean, let me share something. People send me batches, and me and Michael used to share our batches with each other.
Yeah, but then we started fighting.
Yeah,
We haven't stopped. We haven't stopped.
That's true.
But the thing is, Michael's batches would be strong from beginning to end, and other people who send me their batches was not. So it really depends. 20 cartoons, and Peter's very talented. I'm not suggesting that, but some people send in a lot of stuff, and I've seen batches that are awful, and so it doesn't make a difference if you have 7 really solid jokes. But on the other hand, and you guys can tell me what you think of this, I feel like if you send in a batch of 20 cartoons, they on the other end feel obligated to buy something because of your sincerity and the earnestness of your work ethic. They feel like they got to throw you a bone.
Maybe. I don't know.
No, that doesn't work.
You don't think so?
I think they get tired of you. Like, just give it a rest.
See, I was told like by Paul Enough, he told me that if you have a batch that's like really long, like a really big batch, because a lot of times they feel, he says also if the batch is strong, he goes, they give you credit for that. They know that you've really put out.
I can see that.
You got rewarded.
Mm. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know any of this like goings on behind the curtain sort of stuff. I just like, it's just such a crapshoot. I just, week after week, who knows if it's going to be a good batch or a bad batch. I don't even know what cartoons are good or bad, if other people are going to like them. It just feels like I'm just like doing whatever I can, trying to push one out and hoping for the best. And some weeks it works out and some it doesn't.
Do you resubmit cartoons you've submitted before because you think this is funny, I believe in it, they just didn't get it the first time?
I'm sitting on 2 right now that I like, oof, boy, do I want to sell them.
Because Peter Cooper was on the show and he mentioned that he does that a lot, and he does do that because he's sent stuff to me that I've seen before, and I'm like, I know that he's pushing this, and he's right, because I'll get stuff, and maybe this day of the week I'm overwhelmed with something else unrelated to cartoons, and I'm just like, what? And I miss it, or I'm not in the mood. It's just about being in the mood with jokes,
Right?
And then you get a bunch of jokes in. And maybe now I'm in a good mood and I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. But like when I first saw it, and Mike Shield does this too. Well, he's the Wandering Melon cartoonist. If you guys haven't seen Mike, he's really funny. He's out of Canada. And he'll send stuff that's really kind of like not topical, not political. It'll just be like silly. And he'll send me something that maybe he sent before. Maybe the first time maybe I didn't get it or I didn't pay attention. The second time I'll be like, oh yeah, I like that. Now I like that, or something will click with me the second time. and I'll be like, this is hilarious. So I think that definitely is something that people should be doing if they're not doing. If cartoonists are listening, and if you get rejected and you really believe in a cartoon, slip it in again. And
or
and
just
maybe
flop
that
it.
editor just didn't get it the
Yeah.
first time around.
For sure. The New Yorker, goes through 2 editors, so you sort of have to like it halves your odds. But yeah, I resubmit all the time until I maybe try. If I really love it, I'll try 3, maybe 4 times and then give up. But
Well, once you get to a certain age, you can submit them. Like I say, I've sold cartoons that I've submitted 15 years ago.
oh wow, see, I can't sit on something that long. I get too.
Oh no,
antsy.
they get rejected over and over again. But eventually, I mean, it took
Yeah.
me 15 years to sell it. Let's put it
Yeah.
that way.
Or
Well,
give up. Or
It's
give up
new to
totally.
you. Yeah. or give up.
Instagram is its own kind of pressure. You feel the pressure to post every week, so you want materials.
I don't
for
know.
that.
I think that dilutes your content to like just put it out there on Instagram. I kind of got over that. Like,
But
Yeah.
Ellis has become like an Instagram celebrity. You're an influencer cartoonist now, so it's almost like
well, there you go. I stand corrected.
you are at a height. How many followers are you now? You're like a crazy amount now.
I'm at 103,000.
Wow.
Wow.
He's broke 100,000. He's like one of these women with the puffed up collagen lips who were on vacation getting,
but nobody wants me to sell anything. Nobody's coming to me saying sell our dog fragrance.
But they ought to be. I mean, they ought to be saying, "Hey, Ellis, professional cartoonist, we want you to talk about our pencils or
Yeah.
our papers, or go draw from this vista vacation location in the Maldives."
Bob, we should talk to him about squibs and nibs.
Yeah. And then, Ellis, listen, how do you get those numbers? Give us some advice. Here's 2 guys who are lost. Time has forgotten us.
I can give you advice, but like it's the same advice you've heard, and it's so unpredictable. So I post around the same time, 3 times a week, always 8:30 in the morning around that time. A little later on Sundays because the Tune Stack. I try to do one about Tune Stack, so depending on whenever that goes out. The big jumps are when you get someone else to, run your cartoon as a bigger numbers than you. So New Yorker account, if they run one and they tag my name in it, then that will give me a big jump. I got a big one from a cartoonist by the name of Nathan Pyle at one point. Another one by Perry Bible Fellowship. These were and then occasionally you have a genre specific one that like some person in that field likes, and they have big numbers for whatever reason, and that helps.
Kittens, Bob. Kittens.
Yeah, cats.
Yeah.
Definitely cats.
Yeah.
Pet
And then the other
stuff.
thing is carousel posts do really well. That's when you have like a whole bunch in a row. I always find that those do really good numbers. So like pick a theme, dog cartoons, and then do 10 dog cartoons in one post.
Ah, okay.
Um,
Dog cartoons. I'm
But
writing
at the end of the day,
dogs. Right now.
Instagram rewards and punishes you. The more you participate, the more it rewards you. The less you participate, the more it punishes you. So if you take like a break, I don't know if this is 100% true. This is what it feels like though. If you take a break for a month and come back, you're not going to be doing the same numbers as you did. And then the algorithm's always changing too. I think I've heard right now that they want to sort of compete with TikTok, so they're favoring video content. Again, I don't really know how true these things are, but you sort of just hear these things. So
You gotta make that those video reel content where you're videotaping yourself drawing. Have you had to do that yet?
no,
It seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, what are you doing next? What are you going to do next to make it exciting and fresh for your
Fresh,
Instagram?
yeah.
Are you gonna do some videos or?
no, I don't think I'm not particularly comfortable on video. Not like your next guest, Hillary Campbell is. But no, I'm just going to keep going until it stops working, I guess, just like anything else.
Do you crash and burn?
Yeah.
Draw,
No, I
Ellis,
don't know.
draw.
I mean,
Just draw, man. Just draw.
And we'll be here for
Yeah.
you. We'll have you back on when you come to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, thank you.
You're
It's going to come for everyone.
Yes, and next time we see you, we want you to show off that Reuben,
Yeah.
No way.
even if
Robert.
it's just a sandwich.
Or Kendra's. Kendra had a really great batch too for her Reuben submission. You should have her on. She's great. She's right now. She's she's been like out hiking for the last like 3 months, and I don't even remember where.
Still getting those batches in. It's amazing.
Yeah,
They're
incredible.
very shaky though, because she's walking while she
Right.
draws.
Yeah.
Well, Ellis, let's remind everyone where we can see your work. We have Go Comics. We have Junk
Yep.
Drawer there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Go
How
Comics.
can-
Junk Drawer.
Yeah. How can people subscribe to TuneStack?
Well, it's a newsletter, so you can type in TuneStack. I think hopefully it's the first thing that pops up. If you type in TuneStack's newsletter, that will definitely help. You'll get a link. It's a Substack. That's the platform that it's on. And there is a subscribe button just sort of right there.
And it's a weekly. And how much is it weekly?
Yeah, every Sunday comes out, either in the morning or afternoon.
How much does that set us back? How much money?
It's free. Right now it's free. It's completely free. There's no reason not to. If you like cartoons, if
It's
you
free.
like
That's why I get it.
Cartoons. Yeah.
Yes, I enjoyed it today.
And then, of course, we have your new book coming out in November, and that
Yeah.
is Send Help.
Send Help, a collection of marooned cartoons, out November 9th from Voracious. Yes, you're going to like that book, so buy it.
Ellis, we liked you as a guest. It's
Thank
really
you.
nice of you to join us.
Enjoyed this. This is great.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you having me on here.
All right. Well,
Okay.
thanks so much, Ellis, and we'll be looking for your work, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Well, that was great. Well, thanks everyone for listening to this episode of the Cartoon Pad.